Welcome back to episode 6 of my roguelike top-down dungeon crawler game. Currently we can move about, we can have hearts, and we can get attacked by our enemy. But it's about time that we're able to attack back, and we're going to implement our first class, being a warrior that will have a sword. So let's get started. First thing we need to do is actually create a sword, so we're just going to scroll down, go to Sprite, and we're going to create a sword. I'm going to import one that I've got already, but you can make your own or you can download your own as well. So we've got an origin point here. This is where we're going to be holding the sword, so we just need to make sure that's actually clipped onto the hilt of our sword. Again, that's where our player will be holding it. And then we just need to go to our animations and set one up for all of our 4 directions. So first one is going to be sword rights, because we're looking to the right at the moment with our sword. We're then going to duplicate this. I'm going to do the same for the other 4 directions, so sword down. And I'm just going to rotate this so it's facing down. I'm going to quickly do this with the other 2 directions. Okay, and with that done, we've got our sword set up, so we can close this now. We're going to move it near our player, and it's a little bit too big, so we're just going to resize it to a size that makes sense for our game. So I'm going to move it, and I think just about that size is good enough for our little player. On the sword, we need to add a behavior, and we're going to add the pin behavior. This means we can attach it to our player. Now with that set up, we need to move to our player, because now we're going to set up how the player is going to hold the sword. So we're going to edit animations, and to do this we're just going to use the point again. We're going to create a new image point this time, so we can add a new one, and we can rename this, and this is going to be called sword hold. And easiest way I found is to start by applying this to all animations, so apply to all animations like so, and then we need to go through each animation and move this sword hold position to where we should be holding the sword for each animation. So for the right side, I want to click on the right side. For the left side, I want to click on the left side. For down, I want to click downwards. And for up, I want to click up. For the running, it's going to be the exact same. The only difference is you've got 2 frames and you need to make sure it's the same for both. If not, your sword's going to go backwards and forth as you move, and we don't want that. So we just need to make sure that for both frames, we're setting the image point up for all of them, and making sure we're always working on image point 1 and not on image point 0. Always using that sword hold. Okay, with that done, now we can move to our event sheets. So this is really easy to set up with what we've got set up already, because we can already move in all 4 directions using the keyboard. So we're just adding a couple of actions to each one of these. So first action we're going to add is to our sword, and we're going to pin at image points. So we're going to select the object we want, which is going to be our player. We want to always do image point 1, which is the one we set up just a second ago inside our animation pane, and then hit done. And then it's just a case of copying and pasting this for all of the different directions. With that set up, now we also need to change what animation we're using for the sword depending on which direction we're facing, and this is just as simple as for each direction, just setting the animation and setting it to our different ones. So this first one is going to be sword left, because we're looking left. And again, once you've got one, copy and paste it and just change the animation inside the gap. So this one's going to be right next. Up. And finally, sword down. Now that all set up, we're ready to play and test this. So I can move around. My sword moves in each direction like so. Now one thing you'll notice, and it's a bit hard to see because of how I've got my character set up, because I've got this thick black border and I've got a black hilt, I'm actually drawing my sword on top of the player every single time. Now this is fine for moving left, right and down, because the sword should be in front of the player. But when we're moving up, the sword should be behind the player, as the player is the one who's in focus now. So doesn't really matter too much with my character, but I want to show how you could fix it with yours if your character's a bit more complicated or don't have these big black borders around them. I'll show you how to fix those now. So really simple fix. All we're going to do is we'll start with keyboard up. We're going to add an action which is on player and move to the top, moving our player to the top. For all other directions, we're going to do swords. I'm going to move the sword to the top instead. This means that all these objects will now be on the top layer when they should be. So it means that when we're moving down, left and right, our sword is always drawn at the top, and when we're moving up, our player is shown instead, hiding our sword behind the player. And again, you can't really see this effect with my one here, but on your own, especially your character's a bit more complicated, that'll make it a big difference to your game. Next video, we'll be looking at actually swinging this sword so we can start to deal damage. But I just want to stop this video where it is because quite a lot of steps to go through it already. Just adding this sword. Next video, we'll swing this sword and start attacking our little green guy.